Hello, and my name is Pete Rushmer, and I'm your host today of A Half Dozen Things podcast. A Half Dozen Things is a podcast for business owners just like you. Whether you're an underdog hungry for success, or you're already smashing it but want to continue to level up, we are here each week for you to get insight and learning from the very best in the business. No fluff, no BS, and no self-proclaimed gurus talking about how easy business or life is.
A little bit of an impromptu podcast recording for A Half Dozen Things. How you doing then, Mike? All right?
Yes, very well, thanks, Pete. Yes, I'll explain to anybody's watching this as opposed to viewing it. I'll just explain to you that this is not my living room. It is the Purple Palace that we call Premier Inn. So just in case anybody's wondering, but actually, they're really good, aren't they? To be fair, Premier Inns, they're spot.
They are the McDonald's of hotels, mate.
Got to be honest. You get what it is. You know what you're getting. It's comfortable. It's quiet. Well, this particular hotel is really quiet, and it's just they're good. They're all right, and they're roomy, and they're
God, I love it, mate. Well, I'm in the Pink Palace, mate. This is this is when I talk about 2022, a year in a review. One of the things that's happened is Mag's built a bloody extension on the end of the house, and I'm sitting in it. So, but this podcast, I was going to do 2020 a year in review. It's been a mental year from a professional point of view, Mike, and obviously you've been with us nearly a year as well now. So it's flown by, isn't it?
Coming up for a year, it really has flown by. Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's crazy, mate. And I was going to give a little shout out today. So today I've been in doing an earned recognition audit with Adam, and he has been an absolute legend. And it was quite nice for me to have someone who's a big fan of the podcast to work with today.
Oh, brilliant!
And
and I've got something to share. Go on, no, sorry.
Okay, so I was just going to finish telling a little anecdote about Adam, so he was like, I don't know whether I'm a bit starstruck when I turned up this morning, sort of thing, which was very humbling for me, I must say. But yeah, what a legend he is. He's doing a fantastic job over with the business he's working with. I'm not going to say too much because obviously I'm in the midst of an audit with them. But what an absolute legend. So shout out to Adam. And he said to me, he goes, I was really surprised when I saw Mike's photo. And I was like, oh, right. He goes, because I'd listened to him first and I hadn't seen a picture of him. And he said, I thought he was going to be like long hair and a beard. And I was like...
Oh wow!
It did make me chuckle.
I did have a bit of a beard. I've shaved it now. I had a lockdown beard, but that's now gone. But long hair, I've never.
I think. I don't know. So maybe you sound a bit more hippie than you are, Mike. I don't know.
Big shout out to Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Hipster Mike.
Do you know what?
What were you going to say, mate?
My alter ego would be to be fair. This is probably the opposite of what I really am in real life, but my alter ego would be somebody living on the west coast of America with long hair and a beard, long blonde hair and a beard, tooling around west coast of America in an American muscle car. That would be my alter ego, singing a bit of country and western. Adam's probably spotted it just right. My shout out then, if you're going to have one, I'm going to have one, and I'm not going to mention this young lady's name, but I know she is a listener. Well, I know she's a listener because the value of this little. So this is a young lady I met on a course. She came on a course. Boy, do you know what? I can't even remember when it was, but and her sort of her colleague I'd also put through transport manager as well a couple of years ago. I won't mention her name, but she sent me out of the blue, a completely random text earlier on in the week, which I'm really pleased that she sent me. She said, "Hello, Mike. Hope you are well. Just wanted to share this with you as I thought you'd be amused. Fleet Geeks is one of my most listened to podcasts this year." So she sent me a screenshot of her podcast player, and there we are at number 4. Wow. And it's totally random and unsolicited. And I replied to her. I said, "What have we got to do to get to number 1?" And I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this with her. But her number 1 podcast was Medical Murders. So we sit somewhere between Medical Murders and a podcast called Scotland Yard. So I'm just absolutely thrilled that she sent that through. And and she's now telling me that the medical murders is no longer in. They don't know produce it, so we will go up in ranking. So thank you very much. You know who you are, and we do absolutely love it, don't we? I really appreciate it.
100%.
So
100%. Adam said to me today, he goes to me, "Oh, I heard you talking about that on the podcast." He goes, "I don't know how I do this, but I just remember where it is I'm at the time I'm listening to it." He goes,
yeah,
"And I was running through the town centre, and I was like, what, had you nicked something?" And he goes, "No, I was just running." And I was like, "All right, okay," listening to the podcast. I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, cool." You know, so do you know what? I love it when it feels like it's not about the ego thing. I just want to remind people it's not about the ego thing of people listening. It's more that if we're having a positive impact on people and making people want to learn, that's that's the big thing. You know, Adam and I are talking about it today, in that because we don't really tend to give advice on the podcast.
No.
We only really give advice of stuff. This is something you need to be aware of, and if it affects you, you need to go and find out a bit more about it. And we do help where we can, but obviously we can't give specific advice, like you say. So it's nice to be able to raise the awareness of some of the issues and things like that, and help people develop and point them in the right direction to go and find things out. I think it's good, mate. I think it's good.
No. It's great to have that kind of feedback. And Adam, I'm sorry to disappoint you with the long hair and the beard, but you have got me perfectly down to a T.
It's all right though, because we did agree you only look like you're in your early 40s, mate. So
Adam, you are fast becoming my favourite listener, Adam. So
if anyone else wants to butt a mic up, that's absolutely the way to his heart. Anyway, so
I can tell you now that I'm way beyond my 40. Yeah, I'm nearer the 60 than I am 50. So how about that?
Mate. So 2022 in review, what are some of the highlights from this year? So it's always tricky to think back. And as I was starting to think about it, I didn't actually know all the things that I was going to say. So I think back to sort of the beginning of the year, and a key highlight is some geezer called Mike come on board with Flagship sort of fairly early on, after about 90 days of January, because January is always dark and dingy and horrible, isn't it? So what tends to happen in the business is January just goes mental. It's a blur of Saturdays doing CPC training, because that's all anyone wants in January. And then, Mike, you joined us in February, and then it was kind of like pedal to the metal to try and land development of the transport manager training course for Flagship, which was quite a big project for us to get approved and accredited by SILT, and to get people on board for the training and those kinds of things. So that was a really, something I'm certainly very proud of for us achieving this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
When I think about that, and and I think about, I'm not necessarily going to do it in chronological order. I'll do it as things sort of spark up to me. But we've added a swathe of good quality offerings into the business over the past 12 months, which I'm hugely proud of. One of which is the transport manager training. The other is becoming an approved audit provider for earned recognition, which so to have achieved that, we had to get our ISO 9001 as a business. So we got our quality management there, and that's it's been a real investment in both my time and in the actual, as anyone who's done these ISO standards, the actual auditing bodies aren't cheap either. So that's been a real investment for us. So really proud of that, and we're winning some more business around. One of the things I'm really proud of is Tabir's been coming on in the business and making really good progress, and he's been designing bespoke online courses for some of our clients. And we're sort of revolutionising like the driver induction process for some of our training. We've even just won a tender for a major tool manufacturer around their electric vehicle training, which is really exciting. We've got some really exciting projects going on there as well. So we've really sort of come on from a development point of view. Obviously, we want to get a bit more of a market share, don't we, when it comes to the transport manager training and the audit
exactly
training.
And it's hard work. We're not going to pretend that we're, we are a small business, aren't we, Pete? And it's we want to. I think we're ambitious, and we want to develop that side of the business. But it's not easy for us, is it? Competing in a market that is dominated by You know, the big players, I think we all know who they are, the trade associations. It's not easy trying to win business from people who, you know, will put their trust in the trade associations. Quite rightly, you know, they've got good reputations, you know, but to come to us. But to get up and running in the time that we did, it was a team effort. You know, the whole team pulled together, you know, lots of forms to fill out, lots of ticks in boxes, but you know, to get up and running with a course when we did was phenomenal, really, wasn't it? It was absolutely phenomenal.
Absolutely, and I think you know, I think I was really proud of what you've done and what Sarah did to help sort of support and make that happen. And you know, a lot of that happened. And even, like, to be fair, the credit where it's due, the earned recognition application, you did most of that whilst I was on holiday.
So kind of dropped on my lap, didn't it? Yeah.
Credit where it's due. But yeah, I think you alluded to a good point there. These things aren't easy. People go, oh, it's all right for flagship. Look at all these things they're doing. But I'll tell you what, right? Just, you know, hear me out on it, because on the one hand, we're sat in the middle here between the likes of RHA and LUK, who are getting huge volumes of transport manager training from corporate businesses, and then on the other hand, we're trying to compete with the likes of, and I don't mind naming and shaming and having a bit of a rant about it. Yesterday, I was just absolutely shocked to land in my inbox Enterprise Transport Training, whoever they are, an email shot about buy our transport manager CPC training, including VAT and exam fees. It was something like 740 quid, which I worked out like 500 quid before the exam fees and the cost of the book and all the materials and everything like that. You're looking at 500 quid for 2 weeks worth of training. It's just absolutely bonkers.
Absolutely. We as you say, like, so we're getting it from both ends. We're trying to get into a market that's dominated, and then we're trying to fend off you know, hideously cheap and you know, people who just see price, you know, rather than value. They are going to get business, aren't they? That's the thing. They are going to get business. But you know, we're always going to argue that it is a market, and we've got to roll with that, because that's all about market economics, isn't it? But so there's always going to be somebody who's going to come in and undercut you. But I think we stick to our guns and we do it right. I think, you know, in the end, we'll get our just desserts, as it were. So our reward.
Yeah, I think it's like anything, isn't it? I think you've got to recognise that you're offering value for money, and you know, what I would say is the industry average is a 50% first-time pass rate, which is there for a reason, because it's not easy, and because there's the shit operators out there who are doing a really shit job of it. You know, and taking people's money and basically just thinking about the retest fees that they're going to get once they fail, because that's the thing to remember, people, is when you do invest in cheap training, they're often not thinking about trying to get you through the first time. They're thinking about making their margin on you when you've failed and you've got to go back and do the reset.
Absolutely. You know, I heard a story, and I'm going to be very careful how I edit this story, so I don't want to identify the source but a competitor, we could call them a competitor, that they didn't send the books to the delegates. They didn't send the material to the delegates for the first week of the course. The delegates had no material. The trainer complained and was told, "Oh well, don't worry. Think about the retest fees." And that's what that is what we're having to compete with out there. Horror stories like that. I just feel so bad for the person who may have invested their own money. No, the company's money, but you know, invested their own money in that. You know, it may be that they didn't invest a great deal in terms of it was a low cost job, but it's still their hard earned money. It doesn't matter how much it is, does it? And you know, what a shocking attitude. But I just didn't realise that was a thing. You know, all I can think of, my only focus when I'm doing training is to give people what they want, because I know they'll come back to us then.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you know, I think the beauty of the transport manager training was, and we've got lots of other stuff to talk about as well, but just whilst I'm on it, I think from a strategic point of view, the reason we want to do transport manager training is that we want to get people in early on in their careers so that they become part of the flagship family and they work with us longer term, because not only do we want to train them to become transport managers, we want to help develop them and nurture them into really quality professionals, help support them, either by building profitable external transport manager practices, or by helping them get, achieve and get into prominent transport manager and transport director type roles, and to support them with their knowledge and their development throughout that journey. That's all part of part of the service, So certainly, I think if people are listening and thinking about it, I think have a think about who do you want to be associated with, because the other thing is I genuinely think not all transport manager CPC qualifications were made equal, and like a university degree, you don't expect Open University to deliver you the same result as Cambridge or Oxford would.
No.
And that's our aim. We're aiming for the Cambridge or Oxford. And
absolutely.
That's we want people longer term to go, I train transport manager with Flagship Partners, and I had Mike Vickers as my trainer, and I'm very proud of that. And that having some level of esteem with the big employers in the industry, that's what we're aiming for. Not trying to win by hook or crook or by being the cheapest. So
it's not just the certificate, is it? No, absolutely.
Anyway, absolutely.
So what else then? What else in 2022?
What else has been happening? So I sort of think chronologically, we're kind of into like February and March time, and at around that time we were looking to move premises. So that took a good sort of couple of months to sort of push through.
Hi, it's Pete from Flagship Partners. We're proud to sponsor a Half Dozen Things podcast. Flagship Partners help their clients become safer, greener and greater through a range of consultancy and training services. We offer audits through to risk assessments, contracts through to support with managing your culture, all the way from mandatory training through to management training as well. So if you need any support, please do get in touch with Flagship Partners today.
So that was a fairly big thing for us. Certainly, our first transport manager training course was in the old training room, which was a wonderful facility over in Woodston in Peterborough. But very proud. Sort of around June time, we moved into Flagship HQ, as it's now known, in Fengate, and wow, what an awesome facility we've got there. So really proud of what we've achieved. Getting moved into the new premises, and that was much more stressful than I anticipated. Who knew that you needed to think about hand dryers for toilets and sanitary bins for sanitary towels, and
nothing that's ever crossed my mind before.
mirrors and hand soaps and bloody false vegetation of some description.
Yeah,
I hope Mags isn't listening, but like literally, Mags went to town like she was refurnishing a new house. But there we go. But so they're proud of moving into the new facility. Cool. And if you haven't been yet, please do come down and join us for a coffee. Because it's a really, really lovely spot, mate, isn't it?
It is a great spot, Pete. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm out and about. I don't spend a great deal of time in the office, but I always enjoy coming to the office. Number one, because it's just so easy to get to. It's like some training venues we go to are just like, what on earth are you doing putting training on in this situation? Because there's no access. It's difficult to get to. There's no parking, and it's a joy to come down to the offices because the parking, you couldn't get any easier. It's right in front of us, and it's dead easy to get to. And it is a wonderful facility. It's a great ambience, isn't it? I think is that the right word, ambience?
That's absolutely right.
It's a crossover between somewhere highly professional, but it's not corporate. It's very it's a beautiful mixture of the two, isn't it? It's some places you go, it's so corporate. We're a bit of fun. We've got some great wall art and stuff.
I was going to say, I think somebody mentioned the word genius alongside naming 2 training rooms after the characters from Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
I can't.
I'm glad we didn't call this podcast Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Well, so that's the other thing. I was thinking about the things I'm proud of. We launched Fleet Geeks.
Yeah.
We launched Fleet Geeks, but Fleet Geeks is already taken on. I know we're recording this for a half dozen things, but Fleet Geeks has already taken on a half dozen things for listenership.
Yeah.
The download levels are huge. We launched, we sort of broke the boundaries of innovation with the peer-to-peer group launch. Certainly that happened sort of midway through the year as well. For transport managers to get ongoing professional development, we opened that up, and we've had some. I think the truth is as with anything, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? And we've had an amazing retention rate of the members who have joined the peer-to-peer group. We may be small, but we're mighty. So what a fantastic situation that's been. And the podcast, I've really enjoyed doing that with you, Mike. Obviously, it was great doing it with Jamie as well, but sadly we've lost Jamie along the way. What a fantastic way. And I really enjoy it because it sort of plugs the gap that we can't achieve with half dozen things because of the format and with the Fleet Geeks. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the Fleet Geeks, please do, because it's much shorter form content. It's a bit more industry specific, and it's very CPD oriented, isn't it, for transport managers and fleet managers to help them develop, and almost as a long ongoing resource. I see a lot of people now talking about what resources are out there for transport managers. Well, go and take a look. There's nearly 100 episodes of resource, freely available for people.
Absolutely.
Which we're really proud of.
It is, and I started cataloguing them the other day, and I must finish that task. And for my benefit more than anything, really, because I quite often say to people during training courses, look, if you're struggling to cope, if you're struggling to get a grip on that particular subject, there's a podcast. Go and listen to it. And whether they pick up the whole back catalogue or not I hope they do. But even if they just listen to one podcast about maybe, I don't know, operator license applications or something, then we do it it's not a teaching kind of format, it's a discussion format. So I think it does go in a little bit easier. And people really, really enjoy it, the feedback we get on that. But half a dozen things, I'm going to speak up for half a dozen things, because that's been around a lot longer than that was your sort of concept. Your sort of brand was half a dozen things. And I kind of, when I talk to people about half a dozen things, and I start recalling or reciting to them the guests that you've had on. And actually, when you think about the guests that you've had on half a dozen things, it's stellar, isn't it? In our world, it's not, we haven't had Lionel Messi or anything on, but it's in our world, it's stellar, isn't it? Some of the, just to name but a few, we've had Beverly Bell. I mean, for goodness sake, so let's not sort of hide that behind a bushel. Half a dozen things is I know it's been around for a long time, a lot more than 2022, but it's come on in leaps and bounds, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting now because there's such a back catalogue now. I think we're on something like 140 episodes. And so what happens now is when we look at the downloads, they just jump because people come and listen and they get hooked. If you're listening to half dozen things for the first time, check out the back catalogue. There is just oodles of great guests. We've got Mark Cartwright from Highways.
He was a great speaker, wasn't he? Mark is a great guy. I know Mark well, and he that was a great podcast. And Rick Wenham, Inspector.
Rick done a great job. We had who else have we had this year? Phil Breen. From DVSA.
Some interesting industry guests, some colourful characters.
Yes, so big news. Pete White's just agreed to do a second catch up with me. So obviously Pete White from White's Transport Services is somewhat of an enigma, and it was a very popular episode. And it actually it activated me to take action today rather than triggered me. It activated me to take action earlier because actually Adam, who I've been with today, he found me from the Pete White podcast because obviously the reach that Pete had, that was how he first came across. Pete was a great guest, and actually he's had a lot of changes since I last interviewed him because the White's Transport Services business has now moved on, and he's kind of doing his own thing, and he's doing a bit of ETM work, and he's doing a bit of driving for other people. And I think there's been a lot of rumours about why White stopped, and all sorts of good stuff that I'm sure he wants to put the record straight on. So I think that'll be really interesting to have Pete back on. So. So obviously we're really proud of those. I think when I think about some of the achievements of the year, there's a couple that really stand out, and a couple of shout outs I want to make. We've done loads of FORS approvals for people, but one of the things that I'm really proud of is the impact we've made on a couple of businesses who are our clients. One's Born Skip Hire, who are a local family skip company, and as well as a company called Coel, Cambridge Office Environment Limited. Now they're a office fit out company. So both of those companies we've helped develop their ISO systems for 9001 for quality, 14001 for environment, and 45001 for health and safety. Now the impact that's made on their businesses when they can go and compete for new business and to establish them as really professional businesses and streamline their efficiencies. That's something that I'm really personally very proud of, that the business has achieved to deliver sort of results for companies like that. And I'm proud of all of our customers and all of the people we work with. But I think those two will have a long-term impact on those businesses that we've worked with. So certainly, if people are looking at those sorts of standards for 2023, please do get in touch, because that's.
I tell you what else has impressed me on that side. We're talking about our customers, and we have got some really nice customers. We're going to say that, we're not going to come on a podcast so we've got some really horrible customers. They generally are. They're different, but they're generally nice companies to deal with. But what's impressed me, Pete, has been they have three I can think of, possibly even more, have come to us and said, develop courses for us. How wonderful is that?
Absolutely. We've got into a lot of course development this year, haven't we? Like I said before, with the online stuff, but also bespoke CPC stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And to trust us.
Isn't it great to see companies, not the big companies, but medium-sized quality family businesses, looking to really invest in CPC and make it relevant for their drivers? I think that's brilliant.
And that's it. And working with them to make it relevant for their drivers. And I think that's. That tells me as if I was a driver for that company, that tells me these people really care about me, because otherwise they'd just send me on any old course, tick a box, and away we go. So, CPC, we all know CPC's got its detractors and its limitations, but that's great that we're working with those kind of companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some real wins there. I'm just trying to think where I was going next with my with what I was saying. I think it's okay. So I was then sort of thinking about sort of my own personal development and things that certainly I've done and achieved this year. I was really proud to. Obviously, I finished my health and safety degree at the beginning of the year, and then later on this year, I've just done my NLP practitioners, which will help me longer term look at strategic leadership, mentoring and support for our customers, coaching services, those kinds of things, which I'm really excited to put into practice. And I'm already starting to negotiate for my master practitioner next year.
Oh, wow.
So that's in the pipeline and feels very exciting. And then, I think the big thing is proud of how the team's developed. Obviously, we spoke about you coming into the business early on, Mike, but we've had some fantastic people come and join and invest in sort of new areas of the business. With Mariana's come in, and she's taken, we've committed to customer service by bringing Mariana in. She's here as specifically to delight and offer fantastic service to the people that book training with us and different services like that. And then we've had Tracy come in as the new marketing manager.
That was a big win, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what an absolute result, Tracy coming in, and she's going to be doing a fantastic job. And then we've got young Sam coming to join us in December, who is just going to be coming in as a health and safety advisor, so we can start to develop those safety services that we offer, as well as Sam's an ex-firefighter, or he's still a retained firefighter, but he's a ex-full-time firefighter. So he's really understands risk and incidents and, what happens when things really go wrong. I suppose there's loads of little anecdotes I can use about things catching fire and burning and that kind of thing. But he's really going to know what he's talking about. So I'm looking forward to getting him on board as well. So there's lots of exciting stuff for 2022, and I think just spending 30 minutes with you chatting through it, Mike, it's made me think about the listeners there, it's really important that they take the time to reflect on the things they've achieved for 2022. I think the next podcast I'll do some some forward thinking around what we're going to do in 2023, and some of the goals that we're going to set for that. But certainly, I think it's very worthwhile and important reflecting on 2022 and the things we've done. And I've certainly not got any regrets. There's things have done absolutely fantastically. And when I look at personal, I got to have some awesome holidays with the family and things like that as well. So it's been really some year. So yeah, what's your highlight for 2022, Mike? What's your one thing that you're most proud of?
Obviously, joining yourself, Pete. And no, it generally has been. It's been it's great. It's been very busy, but I think for me, as I come towards, I'm writing myself off a little bit earlier, but as I come to the end of my career, it's a career, is that the industry? It's nice to be able to be involved in something like this, which I called it the other day. I called it a project, and I hope you didn't mind me calling it a project, because it is, isn't it? Really, it's a project. It's something new. Different. Well, it's certainly got a different approach. It's nothing new, really, but it's a different approach. And it's very exciting to be a part of that. I'd probably, it'll be hopefully going on for many, many more years. It'll be nice for me to look back on, and perhaps you'll have me back when I retire eventually. And if you ever let me retire, I don't know. And
it's not happening, guys. It's just not happening. Mike doesn't get to retire.
I thought, well, I'll start talking about it now. Then, we can get used to
keep wheeling him out. Keep wheeling him out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's nice.
Old man Mike coming to do his TMCPC training.
Yeah. It's just nice to see. Nice to see something worthwhile coming to fruition. And who knows where I think the other thing is, Pete, is we're flexible, aren't we? We're kind of happy to move with the direction, whatever direction that is going. I mean, you're a strategist. Is that the right word? Strategist. You're very good with your strategy, etc., and you've got your vision and etc. But I think you're not setting your. There's always we speak regularly and we say, what about this or what about that? And there's always an opportunity, isn't there, to move something on in a slightly different direction. And I think we're quite happy to do that. But I think everybody from a personal point of view, from a personal level, we have in our lives, we sometimes need sort of stagnant years where nothing really changes. It's business as usual. Sometimes in our life we have testing years, and then sometimes in our life we have opportunity years where things sort of happen. And I think the happening years are probably this becomes difficult, but they're the better years, aren't they? But it's everybody should reflect really at the end of a year and the beginning of a new one. I just wish my age would be going backwards rather than forwards, but
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Do you know? I said earlier about two things quickly whilst I think about it. I said earlier, I forgot what it was I was going to say because my mind had gone blank. One of the things, and it seems minor now amongst the other things, but we've started on a new journey of our vision of making our clients safer, greener, and greater, and having this vision of like people, planet, and profit. And I look at the statistics. We've planted nearly 1,000 trees this year as a business, which is quite some going. And I think there's some bigger businesses that haven't got the level of commitment to the people and the environment around them as well. And I think so. I'm really proud of us being like carbon positive and making that impact as well. And then finally, my final thought actually I've got two final thoughts that I'm going to share. The first one was from my NLP course, which I'm going to keep weeding out. But
you're never going to mention that, are you?
Flexibility, something about flexibility. So the flexibility that you just said was one of the presuppositions of NLP is the person with the most flexibility controls the system. Which I thought was very apt. And then finally, I just wanted to share with those who listen or have been listening, a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I heard the other day, which I thought was really good for those who feel like they're in the trenches as transport managers in their transport businesses. now, and this really resonated with me. So hopefully it will resonate with you as well, Mike. But it's so from Theodore Roosevelt: "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat."
Yeah. Sure, that's good, isn't it? He certainly knew his stuff about. He was.
That's like early 1900s. That was.
It was, yeah. Because I mean, Roosevelt was about, for a long time in American world, wasn't he? But absolutely, yeah. You got to be.
That's some speech. I thought.
Yeah, got to be in it. That's the thing.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do in 2023, guys? Anyway, that's. I think that was the point I wanted to make. Have a think about what you're going to do in 2023, because the world is full of doom and gloom, but I think we make our own luck sometimes.
Yeah, that's it. Can't all be bad, can it?
It's been a pleasure, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
I really hope you loved today's episode, and if you did, please make sure you subscribe and listen out for future episodes too. Please do share it across your social media channels. We hope to reach more and help more people. If you want to find out more about me, my name's Pete Rushmer. You'll find me across any social media channel and my business Flagship Partners, and we're your partners in success across your business. Thank you. See you again soon.